I'd like to do a quick video and share with you my thoughts and recent experience with a kerosene heater as a backup source in my house. I lost heat yesterday, and we live in the northeast of the country. It's very cold. Our heat went out around 3 o'clock on a Sunday. A plumber couldn't come to the next day, and he already had a call scheduled in the morning, another emergency. So I knew from about 3 o'clock on Sunday I'd need to make it till Monday, noontime-ish, without heat. And it was 10 degrees and blustery outside. It was really cold. We knew the heat was up because it got cold in the house really quick. The temperature dropped very fast. So this is when I bought this to run in my shop, in my garage. I like to work on some projects in the winter, and it was always so cold in my garage and shop that I went out and bought this little heater. It's a HeatMate HMN 110. It's a kerosene heater. Doesn't need electricity or anything. Very self-reliant little machine. Puts out 10,000 BTUs. So when my heat went out, I had this in my garage running, so I dragged it inside my house and put it in my TV room. I have a second one because my son lives a little ways away, and he lives in an old farmhouse, and the heater is finicky and goes out quite a bit. So we thought it prudent that he have one. So you could pick these up at garage sales really cheap because people don't know how to run them, and they stink and they smell. So you could find these cheap in garage sales because just people don't know how to use them, so they don't have any value for them. And that was my experience, knowing I ran this in my shop for 2 years, and I figured it out. There's a couple secrets to running kerosene. The most important one being clean, water-free kerosene. If the wick gets water, there's a wick in this, a round wick. If the wick gets any water in it, it won't wick the kerosene. It can't wick the kerosene. It's like a blocker. And then it burns lousy and stinks and smells and sooty, and it doesn't put out enough heat. And it ruins the wick. You have to replace the wick if you get any water. You could take it out and dry it. I've done that, but it doesn't seem to burn 100% clean after that. So just put a new wick in it. The secret then is, clean kerosene. I store quite 20 gallons in my house, and I like having it as a backup. I run all my kerosene through a filter. I dewater it first. I store it in a big tank. There's my 5-gallon tank. That's what I store it in the house. And this is the funnel that we use. It's a Mr. Funnel, fuel filter funnel. Just a cheap filter. Never needs replacing. I just tap it out once in a while. But I run all my kerosene through that before I run it into the heaters. And they seem to work just fine. My plumber came in this morning, was surprised how warm the house was. And I took him and I showed him these are what I was running to heat the house. And he's like, "Man, I thought kerosene heaters stunk. I didn't even know you were burning kerosene in the house." So I was really happy with that. So the heat went out at 3 and he came at 10:30. Well, when I woke up in the morning, Monday morning, it was 5 degrees outside and again windy and cold. My thermometers on my thermostat said 60. The floors were cold, but it was comfortable in the house. And these little heaters did the trick. And there's two of them. I read online that two work better than a big one. There's another type. It's a cylindric model, taller, bigger, and it burns at 22,000 BTUs. The problem or challenge is it overpowers a room. That room's hot as heck. And as you go further and further away, it gets cooler and even cold. I put one on one end of the house and the second one on the other end of the house. So I had 20,000 BTUs, which is still less than the big one. But it heated my house evenly and very nice. I was very happy with it. The benefit of kerosene heaters, it's right next to the burner. These are radiant heaters. There's no real flame, it's just a wick. And the kerosene is very stable. It'll store for months, and it's non-flammable unless you put a wick in it. So I store 20 gallons, which, if I lost heat, would give me 5 days of heat. That's a nice comfort level to have. I am not a prepper. Like I said, I bought this from my garage to heat my shop in the winter. But having a second one and storing enough fuel has given me a good safety cushion. We had water, we had electricity yesterday, but without heat, we didn't have to vacate our house. It was cold. I was able to stay at my house, sleep at my house. My family stayed here. We were comfortable. It wasn't a disruption in our life. The secret was I knew how to burn them. It wasn't something that I bought and stuck on a shelf someplace as a prep supply and pulled out when I needed it. I practice and got experience with it beforehand, so I knew how to run them. I knew what to do to be safe and to keep my family warm. There are other options. You can use propane and some other type of heaters, but I like the independence, no electricity, and the heat. It's a nice, comfortable, warm heat. So that's my thoughts. Do your own research, and I hope you prepare your family and keep them safe and warm. Thanks for watching. I'd like to do a quick video and share with you my thoughts and recent experience with a kerosene heater as a backup source in my house. I lost heat yesterday, and we live in the northeast of the country. It's very cold. Our heat went on around 3 o'clock on a Sunday. A plumber couldn't come to the next day, and he already had a call scheduled in the morning, another emergency. So I knew from about 3 o'clock on Sunday I'd need to make it till Monday, noontime-ish,